So we're sitting here and asking ourselves a couple of questions. And I think the two questions that we would like to ask you as we start is, have you ever wondered why some brands become legendary and then others just fade away? And another thing as well is, we want to know what the secret sauce is that transforms a simple product into a cultural icon, just as we're seeing either with products or with individuals in the modern day South Africa. So today we are diving into a marketing blueprint that has shaped our industry, which is written by Ries and Trout. We have touched on a piece by Ries and Trout before, or a publication by Ries and Trout before, and now we're revisiting them by tackling their book titled The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. In some instances, I think it says, ignore these laws at your own peril. So we just want to explore what these laws are and to probably help you in not ignoring them so you don't perish, as they highly advise. So stay tuned as we start unpacking these laws and how relevant they are within the modern day world. So I'm more a person of context and understanding what happened before we got to where we are in order for us to solve. So I thought it was important for us to really probably just go back and look at the original story before we delve deep into the 22 laws. So let me take you back to the 1980s. Marketing was changing, and it wasn't about shouting the loudest anymore. And the two mavericks that we're exploring now, being Ries and Trout, were about to flip the script on everything people thought they knew about selling. So imagine this: a time when marketing was more art than science, when companies believed that the best product would automatically win. And these two saw something different. They understood that marketing was never about the product, but rather about the perception, which is something that we highlighted in the book before. So before we get into the different laws, I just want to share this. I had a conversation with somebody that had read this book, and their best explanation at the time was that this book felt like somebody had just turned the light on in a dark room. And what that means is that they suddenly understood the inverted commas magical success of brands, which then leads us to delving into the first principle, or the first law, being the law of leadership, which they've touched on. So the first thought of a brand within leadership is that of Coca-Cola. So they didn't win because they had the most sophisticated soft drink, right? But they won because they were first in line. And understandably so, being the first creates a psychological anchor in anyone's mind that is almost impossible to break. And I think there've been new entrants and things like that, but Coca-Cola still leads, and it's generational. So from a personal perspective, I just thought, when I first started my job, I always thought innovation was the key. But exploring this law, what it has taught me is that it's not about being the best, but it's about being the first to claim a space in people's minds. And this has always been the case also when it speaks to the principle of you sitting around a table in certain boardrooms. You get that opportunity because you've occupied people's minds. It also speaks to people saying what's currently happening now, where people say, my name is mentioned in rooms that I'm not in. It's because you mastered the art of claiming space in people's minds. Look, it's understandable that we all can't be the first to, right? So people then would ask, then what? Okay, so then this leads us to the law of the category. And what this really means is that you need to create your own category. An example of it would be Red Bull. They didn't compete with Coca-Cola in the existing drinks market. They invented the energy drink category. Tesla as well. They didn't just make another car. They reimagined what an automobile could be. Another exploration would be that of Uber. They really didn't compete with the private taxi rides that we had, as well as your Mageza industry. They just reimagined transportation, which all of us adopted, and things that, and it solves a problem that we all had. So if you think about these things, you realize that marketing isn't a numbers game, but more importantly, it's a psychological war fought in the minds of consumers. The devices that we use, the well-known brand that we're all after, does not sell technology. It sells innovation and lifestyle, right? Other brands sell experiences because we're in the era of customer experiences. These are people that are within the psychological battlefield of the consumers. So, with this considered, let me actually just share the laws that have the power to make or break a brand. The first one being focus is everything, right? Own a word in the consumer's mind. We spoke about this before. Volvo, to me, is safety. A delivery company ensures that I get my products on time and safely. The second one is sacrifice. We spoke about it before as well. And the explanation of it is you really can't be everything to everybody. If you think about it, the most successful brands are those that have become brave enough to say no. The third one being perception trumping reality. So here, it's important to know that what matters isn't what you do, but what people believe you do. Now, you might be thinking, these laws were written in 1980. Do they really still matter in our digital and AI-driven world? And as with all the other books that we've gone through, absolutely, that would be my answer. It's important to consider that platforms change due to innovations, tools evolve due to innovations, but the one thing that remains constant is the human psychology. So here are three takeaways that might transform your approach to marketing. One is be different, not better. Perception is reality. Strategy beats tactics. Let me explain what I mean. Be different, not better, means that differentiation matter more than improvement. Perception is reality. What that means is that what people believe about your brand is more important than what you know about your brand. And thirdly, strategy beats tactics. Long-term thinking always wins over short-term gains. I've seen countless marketing campaigns fail because the people that worked on them chose to ignore these laws. Brands that try to be everything really end up being nothing. Brands that understand these principles, they become movements like the brands that we see in the modern day. This is like, when you're given advice, whether as an athlete, a professional, or as a child that has various interests, where somebody that cares about you guides you and says what people believe about you is very important, so you need to work on your perception, on how people perceive you. You need to be different. Your long-term thinking is more important. These are like the life principles that we've all grown up in and been advised on. So it's important for us to consider them when we are working on brands as service providers. So my parting shot for today's episode is that marketing isn't a science. It's part strategy, part psychology, part storytelling. Interesting that I've said marketing isn't a science, because we always push to say marketing is a science. But I said that because I wanted to highlight that there's long-term thought. There is the principle of perception. There's the importance of telling stories that resonate, and stories that will be first in your consumer's mind. And these rules aren't just a rule book, they are a compass that guides us in working on successful brands. So before I go, I want you to do something, or I'd like you to do something. One is look at a brand you love. After looking at it, can you identify which of these laws they're using? And how are they winning the battle of perception? So for more of a deep dive on this, visit our website for a downloadable guide breaking down these 22 laws with modern examples. Until next time, I'm Tabi Singh, and this is Marketing Mindsets. Have a wonderful day and week further.